Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. It is a lovely evening here in Miami for the time being. I go back to LA tomorrow. This is my last day here in Miami, hanging out with Myron Gaines, Fresh Prince CEO, Chris Pogson, who sometimes drops into this chat, as a matter of fact. And something's really come to my attention over the last couple of days as I've been hanging out with these guys. And it's the please, whatever you do not get a soundboard. You mean like this kind of a soundboard?
Gotcha, bitch.
I do already have a soundboard, Russell. I just don't use it like Myron does. So something really, really stood out over these last couple of days. And that was the importance of having a tribe. And in particular, the importance of having a tribe of men that you can be around and confide in and bounce ideas off. And because for me, so this last year I've connected with a lot of different people from all around the world and all across the United States in this kind of circle that we found ourselves in, with men helping each other, with men helping other men, giving advice on health, wealth, relationships, etc. And in my case, sex. If porn stars had a tribe, wouldn't they be inbred? Why would they be inbred? It's a pretty big tribe. And it's interesting. So, been connecting with all these like-minded men from around the world over the course of this year, and basically none of them are in LA. There's some in California, but basically none of them are in LA, and none of them are definitely none of them are in my industry. That's for sure. So, and don't get me wrong, I have friends in my industry, but they're not on this same sort of path, right? The same level of understanding, and so I'm going to be honest. Sometimes it can be quite isolating. We use this as things like YouTube and Zoom calls and interviews as a means of connecting with each other and sharing ideas and developing some degree of camaraderie. But it can never replace physically being around other guys who are on the same path as you. Because what do people say? What's the old expression like? You're the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most, right? So you want to make those 5 people. You want to make your tribe, the people you're hanging around with all the time, the people you're on a mission with. You want to make these guys in alignment with your mission, in alignment with your values, with your purpose. And what I've really noticed is hanging around with Myron and Fresh Prince CEO and these guys these last couple of days is how freeing it is to be around dudes you can just speak your mind and say whatever the hell you like. Because in my industry, I am basically all of us are very much censored in terms of what we can talk about and what we can say, and maybe some controversial opinions we might express. Because if you piss people off, boom, career's over, you're done. Which is why this channel is kind of risky for me, especially when I talk about female nature and male nature and things like that. But just being around these guys for the last couple of days, whoo boy, has it lifted a weight off my shoulders. I feel fantastic being out here and hanging out with these guys, because they're all on the same mission, they're all on the same purpose. They're bettering themselves whilst in the process of bettering others. Right? They're chasing money, they're chasing health, they're chasing relationships. They're trying to improve in all these aspects. They're trying to improve themselves all the time and perfect their craft. And just being around that energy is so important for guys. Because in this day and age, men have kind of lost these traditional male support groups, right? There's no real place for men anymore. There's no for what I hate this expression, I hate this term, but I'm going to use it anyway. There's no like safe spaces for men. Places where guys can just hang around with only guys, shoot the shit, talk about whatever they want, discuss ideas in an open dialogue without the judgment of women and the misinterpretations of women, more importantly. So that's missing. We used to have that. We used to have that back in the day, you know. And we used to have that for centuries, for eons. That's what we kind of evolved in, right? We evolved in tribes, you know, hunt together at bands. And when the men went out hunting as a tribe, that was the man time. And the ladies had the lady time back at the camp, back at the tribe base. Men went out on the hunt. That was them doing manly shit, getting things done, being around other dudes, joking, taking the mickey, taking the piss out of each other, joking around, roasting each other, having a laugh. And that's what it's been with me and these guys the last couple of days. It's been fantastic, and I really missed that because I've had that in my I have very close friends in my life. Unfortunately, right now they're somewhat scattered around the world, so it's kind of hard. With where I've chosen to live in LA, it's hard to sort of find, especially in a place like LA and California. It's very hard to find men on the same kind of path and with the same values that I currently have. So it really has been a stark contrast and a stark reminder of the importance of having a tribe and the importance of surrounding yourself with like-minded men and dedicating time for just having time or structuring your life in a way that there's man time, right? Where it's just the boys being around each other, talking about the mission, talking about the purpose, and getting shit done, taking action. It's really, really just invigorating energy. You know, not to say that. Look, I'm not shitting on women here. I'm not saying like you can't hang around with. I'm not saying you can't hang out with girls. I'm not saying you shouldn't have women in your life. I'm not saying any of that crap. So don't misinterpret me. But there's a time and a place to separate those two things. There's girl time and then there's guy time. And I fundamentally believe that is sort of ingrained into us from our evolutionary history. Just because of how awesome it feels to kick it with the boys every once in a while. To have that as a regular part of your life. And one of the main reasons why I'm moving to Europe, or going back to Europe rather, in December is so I can spend some time with my best mate. And we can just spend months together with a couple other key guys we know in Europe being around masculine energy. Because if there's one thing that Western society is missing right now, it is masculine energy in droves. And it's because dudes are like sort of, and not even just dudes, but women as well, like we're all being sort of taught to and conditioned to be solitary and to live by ourselves in one-bedroom apartments and isolating ourselves with lockdowns and isolating ourselves through social media, so we're not actually physically interacting with one another. And we're not built for that, man. Like human beings are not built to be these sort of solitary beings. Human beings are built to be part of a tribe. And whether that tribe is like a handful of really close friends or whether that tribe is a family, it doesn't matter. You know, or an extended family. Either way, we're built to be part of that. You know? And I know that my future plans involve setting up, you know, establishing a home, establishing a base of operations, wherever that might be in the world, but establishing it with my best friends. So where we can all basically live together, raise our families together, share our values together, and build upon our tribe. And that is legitimately like, you know, the 20-year plan that is currently going through my mind and currently being executed. So we're kind of on a bit of when we're in Europe, we're kind of on a bit of a reconnaissance mission, if you will, for potential places to set up shop and while I'm on the road, I'll be doing this. I'll be live streaming and I'll be reporting from the road. So I'll be giving you guys, and this is going to be a very interesting channel to watch over the next few months. for the next half a year at least for you guys, because you're going to get to see my impressions, and I'm going to be filming while I'm traveling around Europe. We're going to be going to a lot of different countries, and I'm going to be giving you my impressions of each culture, each country, the culture there, the people there, what it's like to live there. And so then you can actually get an understanding of all these different places around Europe and their values. And hey, maybe if you're not happy with where you're currently living, might be places to consider. Might be places to consider. All right. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to abandon the West. You don't have to abandon where you are, but it's worth investigating, because here's the funny thing I always find when I talk to Americans is they don't have a lot of Americans don't have a passport. A lot of Americans have never traveled outside of America. When you ask an American, here's the funniest thing: that one of the biggest cultural differences I've ever seen between Australians and Americans is damn near every Australian I know has a passport, and nearly every Australian I know has traveled outside of Australia at some point in their life. It's part of our culture. We travel a lot. We want to get off the island. A lot of Australians take a gap year after university or after high school, and they spend a year traveling around. And then we actually get like 4 weeks paid leave as part of our like employment schemes. And most people will spend those 4 weeks traveling internationally. Right, they generally don't take those 4 weeks and spend them like working on DIY projects at home or traveling around Australia. They'll travel internationally with those 4 weeks of holiday every year. So it's ingrained. It's part of our culture. Americans, on the other hand, you ask most Americans, hey, have you traveled? And they'll tell you, yeah, I went to Oregon, or I went to DC, I went to New York this one time. Like they'll say another place within America. I'm like, no, motherfucker. Have you left your country? This is all still the same country, basically the same, well, slightly different culture, but very, very similar culture everywhere you go. Have you been out of America? Okay. Well, no. So that's why I think doing this for you guys, because a lot of my viewers are Americans, not all of them, but a lot of them are. And that's why I think doing this is going to be very useful for a lot of people to get a bit of fresh perspective on the world. But back to my point about the importance of having a tribe. Why is it important to have a tribe, right? Well, you got a tribe of trusted bros, trusted brothers in arms, right? Soldiers, whatever you want to call them. One, you're free to express your mind. Like you want to surround yourself with guys who aren't gonna try to police your thoughts and your words, and that's very important because it allows you. If you want to improve your thinking and improve your rational thought process and improve your decision making, you want to have discussions in an open dialogue with guys who are not going to police your thinking, and tell you what you can and can't say. But two, they're also not going to be yes men and straight up agree with you. They're going to critique your ideas and give you give you something to push back against, and maybe play devil's advocate now and then, just to sort of refine your thinking process. That is very, very important. That's what I look for when I want to have guys to surround myself with. The other thing is you quite literally want dudes who can back you up in a fight. Because, man, like there are a lot of idiots in this world. There are a lot of people in this world who legitimately mean you harm and want to use violent force to take what is yours. That is a reality of the world. Even if you live in the West, and the West is very safe, yes, I know this, but it does still happen. So surrounding yourself with guys who have your back in a street brawl, or who have your back in a bad situation, or heaven forbid, worst case scenario, shit hits the fan, or like house fire, or whatever the hell. You want guys who are there, ready to step into action and step up in like a life-threatening emergency situation, and you can trust each other, right? You also want guys who you can trust and who've got your back, and who are going to help you in achieving your goals, who are going to help you on your mission, who are kind of aligned with you on your mission. Right? You don't have to be doing the exact same things necessarily, but you're kind of on the same path. You want to improve yourself. You're all wanting to improve yourself. You're wanting to do better. You want to improve in health, wealth, relationship, whatever it is, so you can all hold each other accountable. And that's huge. It's so much easier to get shit done when you've got when you're kind of competing with your bro in a way, because it's like you're both there holding each other accountable. Because if he says something, he says he's going to do something and he doesn't do it, you're going to call his ass out on it, because any excuse to roast each other is a great excuse, and that kicks you into gear. It's like, oh shit, I don't want him to fucking have one up on me, so I'm going to step up and I'm going to do my shit. I'm going to do my work. And you become more efficient with your time. You get shit done quicker. You get shit done better. And then you have time, because you also want to have time to just chill and hang out and maybe exercise together, spar together, go out, hit the club and hit on girls together, whatever it might be. You know? So these are all the sort of the things that I look for. And then on top of all this, obviously, values, right? You don't want to build a tribe of dudes who have completely conflicting values to you, right? Wouldn't make any sense. You'd be butting heads. You don't want to be around them. That's sort of not very conducive to a coherent, fun-filled, enjoyable life. So these are the kind of things that I look for when I'm finding dudes who I can add to my tribe. And I think this is fundamentally important for all men to do. And I think a lot of men isolate themselves too much. They don't get me wrong. Politically, I'm like a libertarian, right? But it doesn't mean that I think you should live and breathe and be a complete individualist in every sense, right? I think we need each other and we need tribes, and we're happier when we're much happier and fulfilled when we're around other people, because we're social creatures. That's how we've evolved, right? We've evolved to be in tribes, and I think we've kind of lost our way with that, and especially in the West. Because you go to places in South America and stuff where I spent a lot of time. It's lots of families, man. Lots of families hanging out, being together, trying to get shit done together. You know, there's camaraderie. There's a tribe there, and we're far more individualistic in the West, which has its benefits. Don't get me wrong. There's benefits to it, but in terms of like a long-term fulfillment and happiness, you can kind of get the best of both worlds, right? You can be individualistic and rugged and very independent to a degree, whilst also building a tribe and having that support network there. So that worst case scenario, accident happens, all the guys in your tribe are in a car accident, they die or something, you're not completely fucked. You have skills and you have the capacity and the resources to do things, to move on with your life by yourself. But that's the worst case scenario, right? Preparing for the worst. But you build a life with other men who can support you and drive you further in life. And more importantly, who can just fucking roast you every now and then. Because Jesus Christ, it's fun just to be around dudes roasting each other. The number of times that Myron Gaines has said words I cannot say on this live stream or I will be immediately banned this week has been very refreshing. I'll tell you that right now. Let's catch up with the chat. I do have to go off. To shoot a scene today at 3 o'clock, so I've got about half an hour to get there. First and foremost, Danny, thank you very much for the super chat, sir. I think it's time to have another Aussie Bond. How's your British accent, Sterling? Here's a little something for the collection bin. Thank you very much, Danny. Good to see you again. I saw you in the chat yesterday with the chat with Sarah J, and I saw your super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. I think we do need another Australian Bond. George Lazenby did a fantastic job. Who who I think would actually make a really good Bond is yes he does have black skin, but it would be Idris Elba, because he's like that. He's got that rugged masculine like aura about him. He's got a British accent. I actually think Idris Elba would actually make a pretty good Bond, but then the purist in me is like, well, look, we should probably let's stick to Ian Fleming's original like character description and stick with the dude who's like, what is he like? I think he's like, yeah, like black hair and whatever colored eyes Sean Connery had was the color of his eyes. Because I know Daniel Craig was a little bit different in his like complexion. Like I think it was either his hair color or his eye color was different to what was written in Ian Fleming's novels. Anyway, I digress. Oopsie. I brought that up again. How do I get rid of it? There we go. Hide that. Where were we in the chat? Yes. And Thor is a perfect example of a guy that I've connected with. Well, I tried to connect with, and then my car broke down on the way to actually meet the guy. So we will make this happen, Thor. I think you're on holiday next weekend, I think you said. So we will make this happen, Thor. Great topic. It's very free to speak your mind and be who you are and who you've always been. Exactly, man. We're censored a lot these days, and people don't even realize it. You're being censored in your speech and in your thoughts, and that's not a good thing, man. It's not a good thing. Viking berserkers will rise again and ride your dragon ships to glory and infamy, Valhalla Skull. Well, there you have it, Thor. Thank you very much, sir. Salute. Well, Soleimani, it would have been like that had it not been for the restrictions in Vegas on live events and things at the time. To be perfectly honest, I was really, really disappointed that we couldn't pull it off as a live event. So hopefully we'll be doing it next year. Hopefully next year, restrictions, and it looks like it's going that way. Restrictions will have slacked off a bit. They'll allow live events and things, and in Vegas, and we'll be able to put it on again. But we'll do it live, and then it'll be a fantastic time to connect with everybody. It'll be really good, and to connect with, hopefully, for you guys to make like-minded connections all around the world. Ryan, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for popping into the chat yesterday as well. I noticed you. Tribes are huge. You're absolutely right. Oh, nice. Ryan's got a video on it too. Well, there you go. Go check out Ryan's video on this topic as well. Oh, look at that. I actually answered your question already, Too Big. So I'm glad you tuned in and asked that question. Yeah, your tribe. Danny says my tribe is very small at this current point in my life, and I want very much to have a tribe again. I think we all do, man. I think we all do, and it's hard. Don't get me wrong. It is hard to find like-minded, in these day and age, like-minded dudes who are on a purpose, on a mission, trying to improve themselves, who are within your proximity, right? You can actually physically hang out with, and who have the time and the resources to do such a thing. Because our entire society is sort of engineered against it, So you've got to actively do this stuff. You've got to actively seek this stuff out. And look, chat rooms like this, all these different groups that all these guys in this space are kind of forming together are great places to start. Great places to start. That's a good point. Also, it's better than saying we're a cult, because we're not a cult. Joshua says, facts, men need to be around men. Absolutely, brothers, comrades. It builds brotherhood. Absolutely. Comradeship, social skills. Yes, that's why, for example, the Boy Scouts were so popular in Hitler's youth, Hitler's boys' youth comradeship. Yeah. Really fun fact. My, maybe not so fun fact. My father had my father was friends with this German guy back in Australia. Like, he was a German immigrant to Australia, right? This kind of hermit guy who lived by himself. Lovely fella. He didn't have a great relationship with his father, and we ended up finding out why. My dad's friend's father was like the highest ranking Hitler youth when at the end of the war. That was his father, and he was like an alcoholic, and he beat his son and shit like that. Yeah, not a fun. Imagine that. Not a fun upbringing if your dad was in that situation. But if you read what's the book? If you read the book, The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. I can't remember the author's name. It's a tome of a book. It's like this. It's huge. It's this thick. It takes a long time to get through it. I listened to it on audiobook like every day driving to and from work back in the day, and it took me like a month to get through the damn audiobook. It's big. But in that book, they do talk about like the Hitler Youth stuff, and like kind of like how he built it, and like there's some principles in there you can kind of steal. It's like, oh, okay, well, like here's kind of how they like adopted. Well, here's how they sort of developed like a sense of loyalty and camaraderie and stuff. And you can see the same thing with like lots of like traditional men's groups, like army regiments, Navy SEALs teams, these kinds of things. Cults usually have hot, crazy groupies and group sex. Oh, it's not bad. It's not a bad thought. But you'll all need to get groupies for that to happen. Okay, so it's not just like, I've already got groupies and I have group sex, but you guys need to step up and start having all this crazy group sex in order to make this an official cult, which is not. Yes, correct, Josh. And tribes also give you a sense of belonging. That's why I think that's why I think being a part of a tribe is fundamental to having having a sense of fulfillment in life and a sense of purpose. You think Bali is an Australian colony? One part of Bali, maybe. One part. Yes, that's why martial arts are such a valuable hobby. It's an instantly masculine community. Yes, if you find the right dojo or right gym or whatever it is. Yes, but some of them, not all of them, but some of them. The ones that take it seriously are yes. Yes. Where do we get to? What trait do you look for in friends? I usually make friends where I work, but I'm seeing more and more men are becoming cunts and bitches like women. Well, that's the first thing I look for in a dude. Is he acting like a little bitch? That's the first thing I look for. The second thing I look like is the guy like what's the guy's sense of humor? Like the thing that I tend to filter on is like what's the guy's sense of humor like? Because if I want to hang out with a guy, I want to have a laugh with him, and I in particular like to laugh at the absurdity of reality, and I'm able to like peel back and laugh at the bullshit that's going on around without getting too serious about it, without getting like depressed and angry and riled up about it. Like I've used this analogy the other day, like a leaf being blown around in the wind. If I'm looking for dudes to hang out with, they're dudes who are on a purpose. They're dudes who are trying to improve themselves, who I can do activities with, be it gym, sparring, hiking, traveling, whatever it might be. And they're dudes who if we're roasting each other, if we're like taking the piss out of each other within the first few minutes of us meeting, I'm pretty confident that we're going to get along. Which is, people are increasingly becoming little bitches these days. So that's a bit harder to find. You're absolutely right. The 4-bin chickens of the apocalypse. Maybe, Thomas. Yeah, where'd we get to in the chat? Just clarifying Joshua's point. He's talking about the conceptual brotherhood and comradeship of the Hitler. He's not talking about the Nazi ideals. Obviously, that's how I interpreted you, Joshua. But okay, fine. In case anyone watches this bullshit and is thinking, oh, he's talking about being a Nazi. Well, fucking no. Spastic. This is what I was referring to. Thank you for clarifying, Joshua. I knew what you were talking about, but thank you for clarifying. Yeah, no man is an island. That's the old expression, right? I have one or two liberal friends, and I've come to realize that just because of the rift that exists between our value system, that they can't truly be a part of my tribe. You can't really be tight with them. I'm starting to find that as well, to be honest. And I have friends who are left leaning, I'd say, right? Like I said, I'm libertarian, so I can kind of go both ways. And I tend to make friends with people on both sides. But when it gets to with very, very left-leaning friends, when it gets to a certain point, you can't really say things. All right, there's certain things you can't talk about around them. Otherwise, they get into a hissy fit and they get all emotional and they stop being logical. And they're like, "Oh, it's bad words." I'm like, "Oh, fuck off! Like, just take a chill pill. All right, unbunch your panties and let's talk about this like men." But it's becoming increasingly hard to do that. Where do we get to? Having a tribe is Dinko. Welcome to the chat. Having a tribe is very important. You are right, but it must be consisted of reliable and trustworthy people, and not those who drag you down. Absolutely, yes, yeah. Trustworthy is a key point in his statement just there. Trustworthy. Can you like I was saying before? If you and your bros are hanging out, and suddenly like a street fight breaks out, like a bunch of dudes trying to jump you, are they gonna have your back? That's a pretty important thing to consider. Or are they gonna be a little bitch and leave you to get your ass kicked? That's a very important thing to consider. Okay, this is why learning to fight is actually a very fucking useful skill, a very important skill, a fundamental skill in my opinion for a man. And I'm very glad I finally I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't pick this up earlier in my life. I'm glad I'm willing to box now to compensate for my pussiness, right? A good place to find people to add to your group, to add to your tribe, brother. Well, a good place to start is like all the kind of guys that all the guys that I have on this channel are effectively part of my virtual tribe at the very least. And all of those guys tend to also have other guys within their respective communities, right? So searching for people there is a great way to start. Okay? And then you can start to niche down into, okay, where are people that are actually based within my immediate location? Harry Zico, it's good to see you, buddy. Yeah, related interest. Like a motorcycle, especially for dudes, like a motorcycle club or like an MMA gym, a boxing gym, these kind of places. These can be good places to start to find people. No, it's not a guarantee though. It's not a guarantee at all. But look, it's at least a place to start. Where we get to? Everyone's talking about motorbikes for some reason. Good for you guys. I'm sorry your bike broke, but that's life. Linkzedel, thank you very much for the $2 super chat. Much appreciated for the support, sir. Good to see you again in chat. Haven't seen you for a while. Welcome back. Where do we get to? That's a very. I didn't hear that quote from Cernovich, Henry. But that is spot on. Damn, that is a really. That is actually a really insightful statement. Now I think about it. Yeah, damn. Today it's easier to get laid than to make a friend. Yeah, man. Like in person. In-person relationships for men are kind of becoming harder to sort of establish and solidify. You know, because it's a vetting process. Like, here's the thing. Here's why. Okay, I'm going to jump on that point. Here's why. Here's why it's easy to get laid is because like it's not a commitment. It's like a wham bam thank you ma'am situation, right? Okay, you have sex, boom, cool. There's no need for like it doesn't by default mean they're part of your life. A friend is someone who's going to stick with you through thick and thin. It's someone you want to vet for like a long term friendship. For someone to be a part of your tribe, it's like a long term thing. So it takes vetting and it takes investing on both your part. You have to invest in that friendship, so it takes time to build. So it's harder to establish because you got to vet properly, and it's harder to maintain and takes commitment and longer time frame to build upon that relationship. So that is why it is harder. Yeah. Yeah. Or you can just find a bunch of old dudes like Thor here. You know what they're talking about. Yeah, and Thor, I'm gonna be I'll be back in California next weekend. This weekend, yeah, next weekend. So let's go for a ride. You promised me a ride on your motorbikes, so let's absolutely do that while I'm out there. Where we get to? Yes, and Ryan, while we're at it, Ryan, you get your ass out to California and then come hang out with me and Thor while you're there. All right. That makes a point. That's an interesting point. Oscar says you can't have a tribe within an echo chamber, can't you? I feel like you kind of can. I feel like you definitely can have a tribe within an echo chamber. Whether or not you're going to be improving on your rational thought processes and your problem solving, your verbal problem solving, your debating skills, like all these sort of like cognitive things where where you will be testing your ideas and your thought process against like a devil's advocate argument, for example, that you're not going to get in an echo chamber. But can you build a tribe within an echo chamber? Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, I would disagree with you there. JD says, out of curiosity, have you ever worked with Kenzie Reeves? I have, JD, and she's fantastic. She is a lot of fun. A lot of fun to work with. Kenzie Reeves is brilliant. One of my favorite girls I've ever worked with. She is just adorable. Little spinner. Does the Hago face thing where they like stick their tongue out and roll their heads in the back. She does that perfectly. She's like the best in the industry of that, and she's a lot of fun. Yep. Good morning to you, Caesar. Good to see you back in the chat. You never sent me, Caesar. You didn't. You were going to send me. You said you in the last chat. You said you were going to send me an email, but you didn't. I didn't receive anything. So send it again if in case I didn't get it, or if you hadn't written it yet. You said you were going to send me something, so email me. No, Henry, I'm good question. Good question. Are you friends with the other Manosphere guys, or is it just about increasing your reach? I'm genuine friends with these guys. I mean, I'm here in Miami right now, hanging out with Myron Gaines and Fresh Prince CEO. Let's just say it. I put my money where my mouth is. You know what I mean? Like, and time is money. And all these other guys, like all the Rule Zero guys, I genuinely consider these guys to be my friends now, because we're chatting all that. We're we've got our own like private chats and stuff, and we're chatting all the time. We're shooting the shit. We're ripping on each other. We're having a joke. You know, so despite the fact that we're on the other side of the planet from each other a lot of the time, I would definitely still consider us to be friends. Yes. Oh yeah, good point, Dinko. Smash that like button. Thank you for reminding me. I always forget to remind you guys of this, but yeah, if you're watching right now, hit that like button. It's completely free. It takes you 2 seconds. Bang, done. Takes you less than a second. Really helps the channel grow. And if you're new to this channel, obviously subscribe. I'm going to have to wrap this up shortly because I actually have to go shoot porn at 3 o'clock and I forgot what the time was. So, good. Thank you, Van. Sterling, the interview with Sarah was fantastic. Glad you tuned in. It was a hell of a lot of fun. I had a great time. Sarah had a great time. Everyone had a great time. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on Unplugged Fit's channel. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. And I'm going to have to wrap it up from there, guys, because I really need to get the fuck out of here because I am running late. And I got carried away with this chat. So, smash that like button. If you got any more questions, drop them in the comment section below. I always check the comments and read them, and if there's a question there, I do reply to it. So, and that also helps the channel grow as well. The more comments you leave, the faster the channel grows too. So, help me out that way. All right. See you tomorrow. All right.